was an animation telling you a real-life story, by the way, of a lady we have in the studio right here. But even before we get into that conversation proper and also talk about this whole animation, we have Dr. Mary Anson, who is a co-founder and CEO of International Sickle Cell Center. And we have the creator of that animation you saw, and I'm sure a lot of you know him by the name Creo Concept, and his real name is Arnold Bannerman, Animation Director, Creo Animation Studios. And we also have the young lady in that particular animation you saw, Doris Benjamin. That is her story, and I'd love to also hear from her. But even before we get to her, Doc, Creo, Doris, you're welcome. Doc, for the uninitiated, somebody who may have watched this particular one but is still wondering what sickle cell disease actually is, can you break it down to the layman?
Okay, so sickle cell disease is an inherited blood disorder where one is born with it. So every human being has hemoglobin in their red blood cells. You inherit one hemoglobin gene from your mother, and the other is inherited from your dad. So if your father has the AS genotype, it means that he also inherited A from his father and S from the mom. So his AS, he would always give one to you during reproduction when he had sex with the woman, the sperm and egg combined. So if the S gene, hemoglobin gene, is transferred from the father, and the S hemoglobin gene is also transferred from the mother who also has AS genotype, then the baby is born with sickle cell disease hemoglobin SS. But if this man who has hemoglobin, the AS genotype, gives off his A to the baby, and the mother also, the child inherits the A also from the mom, though the mom is also AS, then the child is born with hemoglobin AA genotype. And that's how one inherits sickle cell disease. And sickle cell disease, usually everyone experiences it differently. Though it's a severe health condition, there are those who have the severe forms. We have two major types worldwide. That's the SS and the SC. And that's very common in our parts of the world, Ghana, West Africa. But then the SS is generally more severe than the SC. However, I've seen patients who are SS who have less severe forms of sickle cell disease as compared to those with hemoglobin SC. So it really depends on the patient. That's one. Education is also another thing. If they know how to take care of themselves, they are drinking enough water in a day, they are avoiding mosquito bites that will lead to malaria, they are taking care of themselves to protect themselves from infections, they are not getting too cold, they are not getting too stressed, they are taking rest breaks and all. All of these things help avoid the pain crisis that they experience. And these are known as triggers of sickle cell pain crisis. So if I have sickle cell disease and the weather is cold and I'm properly dressed, I'm drinking enough water, I protect myself from having my red blood cells changing. So those of us who have hemoglobin, I am AS genotype. So the hemoglobin A is normal shape. It's shaped like a donut. So that's able to flow freely in red blood cells, and they are able to meander even in very tiny vessels. So they are very malleable. But then the hemoglobin S or C, what happens is that when you are stressed or you're not taking enough water, it affects the shape of the red blood cells. So the red blood cell changes from that round, nice donut shape into the shape of like a crescent or banana. And when that happens, the red blood cells stick to one another. And when they stick to one another and they are passing through a small blood vessels, they don't have that ability to meander through tiny blood vessels. So it means that the oxygen and the blood that's supposed to go to that body tissue, it doesn't get there. And the body responds to that with pain. The body says, Ajay, I'm not getting oxygen, I'm not getting blood. The nutrients, give it to me. And that's how they feel the pain. So if it's their wrist, the wrist will hurt. If it's the back, it will hurt. If it's the leg, it will hurt. And if blood supply is not getting to the leg, they get what we call leg ulcer. And it's chronic leg ulcer. It can go on for years. And I met a patient at the hospital who had leg ulcers on both legs. And I asked her, are you married? And she asked me, if you are a man, would you marry me? Would you like to lie next to me with wounds on my leg? And I knew my answer, but I felt sorry for her. And another thing too that they can have is stroke. So if the blood vessels, the sickle red blood cells, block blood supply in the brain, you can have a stroke. And this stroke happens also in children. So we're seeing children with stroke. If it's in the eye, I've had patients tell me that they were walking on the street and all of a sudden they went blind and they had to recall the safest place they saw before they went blind to stand there for it to pass after some time. So the complications of sickle cell disease are diverse, but if you take care of yourself, you take the necessary medications, you are able to manage it.
Absolutely. I have two questions, Doc, quickly. What's the lifespan, average lifespan of someone living with sickle cell? And watching that documentary, we hear 7 million people live with it all over the world. What's the state of it in Ghana? The numbers, if you have any.
Okay, so with regards to the average lifespan, if you have access to the needed care, especially those in developed countries, literature says that those who have SS genotype, the average lifespan is in their 50s, and those who have SC genotype, the average lifespan is in their 60s. Now, this is average, so it means that there are people who live beyond this age limit. And right here in Ghana, we've seen a 100-year-old woman with sickle cell disease.
100 years.
Yes, and then we've seen some in their 90s, 80s, 70s, but it's not a lot, and that's why we are advocating for better care for people living with sickle cell disease, because we believe as research advances and all, there will be treatments which can even we know this gene editing thing that has come. It's so expensive, more than $2 million. Who can afford it?
Wow.
Yes, so the people who need it can't afford it. So as research advances and we find better care, cure and treatment for sickle cell disease, the lifespan would improve. But even with the 50s and the 60s, I'm saying, that's the average lifespan in Ghana. Like most Ghanaians, that's the average lifespan. So I believe that there is hope with improved care. In Ghana, we have about 18,000 babies born every year with sickle cell disease. And this is even after no country in Ghana, like Ghana has tried to offer newborn screening, through pilot programs and all. But still, more than 90% of the babies born in Ghana are not screened for their sickle cell status. So the majority, their parents only find out that the child has sickle cell disease when they are in pain. And they've gone to the hospital, they are in the emergency room, and then the doctor thinks about sickle cell disease, they are diagnosed, they are tested and diagnosed for the condition. And it's not only with Ghana, the entire continent of Africa. We say sickle cell is neglected because of some of these things. No government offers universal newborn screening for the over 46 million babies born every year on the continent.
Okay. Wow. The numbers are staggering, and I'm really hoping that duty bearers are listening and something will be done about it. But let me come to you, Crew. We know you do your animations and all of that, but this collaboration between you and ISCC, why did you even decide to collaborate with them on this entire project?
Okay, so at Creo, first of all, there's an entire team behind this.
Oh, so it's not just you?
No, it's not just
me.
Yeah, I mean, after the animation, there's the credits. You see everybody who worked on it, so it's a fantastic team. But this collaboration, we at Creo, we've always tried to educate people in different ways. The last big project we did was Ganaba, which was more of a cultural awareness. And so this was something that we decided to do because, one, it's a good cause, and two, personally, I'm married to someone who's a warrior as well.
Wow.
So it then became more of something personal than work, you know. And like she's saying, with all the figures, there's a lot of work that needs to be done, you know. So we just decided that this, at least for this year, this is something that we want to champion with them.
I'm tempted to stay on Creel and talk about his
experience.
Life, with your
Do you mind sharing?
Oh, I don't mind. So like she said, if you're able to take care of yourself properly, and there are people who are genetically gifted to have less crisis and things like that. So she happens to be blessed to be able to, she probably I even go to the hospital more than she does.
Wow.
So she's very okay.
She's okay.
Yeah,
she's okay. Let's look at the start of the story.
Yes,
Doris
Doris.
Benjamin. That story was very, very emotional, very, very touching. Doris, where do we even start from?
I know, there's a lot to talk about.
First of all, I'm wondering what her state of mind is. You know,
Watching
after
that whole-
everything
yeah.
you've been through. Yeah, where are you now?
By God's grace, right now, I'm doing well, and the help of ISCC, I think I'm a better person now.
Okay.
Yeah, because where I was and where I was coming from, looking back to now, I give God the grace,
Wow.
the thanks and everything.
Wow, I can
It's
imagine.
not easy, but right now, I can boldly say, for the past 2 years, I've not been admitted. Yeah, it's more than 2 years, 3 years, not
No
been in the
crisis.
hospital. So the only crisis I have is when I'm stressed. When I overstress there, but when I take my water and I relax my body, I'm strong.
Who is stressing you? Where's my
I
guy?
know, right?
Who?
We don't
I'll look
like
for
stress.
something to hit the person's head.
Oh, but I mean,
But
Doris,
life definitely will give you stress.
a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah, once in a while, which is normal.
Yeah.
But when you were watching the animation, how did you feel?
I felt there's a lot to be done, and they did a great job. I'm happy to see the video out there, and people will learn from it and know that it is not a death sentence. And with the people you love and they love you around, you'll be a better person. Yes, that is what I felt when I saw the video. And I was happy because the video is going viral and everybody is going to learn more about the sickle cell disease and how to show love to those people in everything. They are doing well.
Amazing, amazing stuff. And
Doctor.
if you remember, she also mentioned that it was when she met ISCC that you guys
got
took
better.
care of her life changed. That was the end of the video. So that takes me to my question. What does the ISCC does for people who are battling sickle cell disease?
Using Doris's story, for instance, I actually met her in church.
Oh,
Yes.
See? Go to church, please.
Yes, yes. My church did very well. They were hosting them at her church basement. That's where she and her siblings were sleeping initially. Then the church, because they were, should I say, she was sacked from home. Her sister was also sacked from home. And eventually the church got them a place and we got to hear about them. And the day she told me her story, she was crying, I was crying. And I was like, Doris, don't worry, we'll try and help you and do our best for you. And right after, her brother also had to leave Kumasi and join them because they said, oh, your sisters are doing well in Accra, so come. And he used to get admitted 3 to 4 times a month in the hospital. And as soon as he came to Accra, he fell ill. And I wasn't having the money by then. And I spoke to my brother. He had come from the States, and he gave us money for his medical bills. So I was like, let me save the rest. In case any of these, there are 3 siblings, any of them fall, because they're orphans now, any of them falls ill. 2 weeks later, Doris falls ill, and she's admitted at Kolebu. We go to the hospital. The next day, I thought I was getting feedback about her, how she was doing. Then I'm like, oh, Shadrach is also sick, and he's on oxygen. I'm like, this is too much for me. So we spoke to team members who donated. We enrolled them when they were discharged. We enrolled them into sickle cell clinics. They started taking hydroxyurea. We kept a very stern eye on them to make sure that they are taking their water, dressing properly. And then miraculously, after Shadrach started doing that, someone who used to get admitted 3 to 4 times a month was admitted once in the year.
Wow.
And then he was detained twice. So there was a remarkable improvement and change in his health. And we've done that for a few other sickle cell warriors. And we hope to do that for at least 100 people this year, starting next month, to provide them with their basic medical care, their medications, pain medications, educate them, have that close interaction. Because what worked with them was that close network, and have volunteers and health professionals who live close to them to have that close network, visit them in their homes and all. So the medical support is one thing that we do. And then through the support of Tobinco, we were able to take her back to school.
Oh, wow.
So she wants to be a lawyer.
Oh,
so
amazing stuff.
So she's currently in the mature school learning, and then still through his support and Code Train Africa support. So when you watch the video, you would see it. The brother, after he was discharged, I asked him, what do you want to do with your life? And he said, I want to be a software engineer. I never got the opportunity. I was like, where do you want to? He said, Code Train Africa. So we went there, spoke to them, long process, but eventually they gave him 100% scholarship.
Wow.
And he's going to finish his course this year, a 2-year program. And then the other sister, I spoke to BC Medicals. That's actually my parents' company, and they also took her in. So when she has to go for reviews, they take her to the hospital. They allow her to go. When she's not well, they allow her to take a break. And she got the opportunity to actually go to Kenya and Dubai recently through and her income was increased 7 times at my dad's company. So we've brought on board partners, and especially close-knit partners who will support them. And we are trying to get other partners who help mothers who have lost their jobs because of sickle cell disease. Another thing that we did last year, which was very great, was we screened more than 6,000 people for their sickle
Ghana.
cell.
Beautiful, beautiful.
Across 10 regions. And we diagnosed sickle cell disease in more than 200 people.
Wow.
Sadly, we lost 2 people last year, a 15-year-old and a 21-year-old. And there's this picture of me taking a sample from the 21-year-old when she was 19 years. And the reason why we couldn't reach them immediately was we having like financial difficulties because it's so expensive taking care of them. So we're like, whether we have money or not, this year we have to run the campaign, and it's going to be the You Are Not Alone campaign. So we telling Doris and other people with sickle cell disease that you are not alone. We see you, we hear you, we know what you are going through, and no matter what, we must try and offer the necessary help.
Doc, I want to stay with you. Okay, we'll come to you shortly. I want to stay with you. You know there's a religious aspect to this whole thing. And from that documentary, you also saw that there was a spiritual aspect to the whole thing. And you said you met her in the church as well. So I think it's important to know what's the level of awareness when it comes to sickle cell, because we are always talking about it. Every year you find media houses talking about it. But what's the level of awareness we have now? Prevention, they say, is better than cure. What's the level of awareness, and what role do you think the church can play in pushing this awareness?
The awareness is very low, unfortunately. So we hear about it, it's literally like the gospel. So you hear preachers preaching about the gospel in buses and on the streets and all. Some are giving in cradle, some are taking their own, they are taking the gospel and saying it to suit them, their own selves, and they are not, some are not preaching the gospel. So we have a number of voices out there, but what they are saying, is it accurate? That's one thing. And so what people know about sickle cell disease is there are some inaccuracies with their knowledge about sickle cell. Even amongst elites, you realize that being educated, I was actually outside the country. It was actually Cambridge University. I went to see my brother, and there was someone who had just finished his PhD, a Ghanaian, and we're chatting, and we're talking about sickle cell disease, and I was shocked. The things he said about sickle cell disease. I'm like, this is an educated person to like the highest level. And so no matter how educated you are, even with doctors, my colleagues, I realized that they had very low knowledge about the preventive options that are available to couples and all that. So if you've not been taught and you've not been educated about it, you wouldn't know. And what you know may be the misinformation and myths about sickle cell disease out there. So awareness level, from our experience, we conduct some research on the field whenever we are having our projects and initiatives. And you realize that the awareness level is always very low, and much more is needed.
Yeah, and talking about this, do you also think there's some stigma around children born with sickle cell disease, especially because the parents don't even know what is wrong with the child, and like we saw in the video, they tend to think it's all sorts of things. Do you think that there's some stigma?
Yeah, The stigma is both internal and external. So some people do not even allow their children to do anything because they feel like, oh, my child will fall sick, my child will die, and they put limitations on their children. But if they are taught how to let their children live with sickle cell disease, they do what they want to do, but take rest breaks and all that. But some things are like a no-no. I always say that if you have sickle cell disease, you can't work in a washing bay because of the water and the wind and all. So some things are kind of like a no-no, but there are other things that you can do. And as for the stigma, the external one is even more out there because when I have a sickle cell patient who was telling me that when she goes to work and she's too tired and she's dizzy and all, her colleagues call her lazy. And when they have to go for review, sometimes the bosses do not believe them, like come with a medical report. But when you go to the hospital for review, medical report is not written for you. The most we can do is to write an excuse duty or something to show that you were at the hospital, but not a medical report. Because a medical report, you are charged for it at the hospital. So they have stigma at the at work, their workplace. Sometimes there is stigma in school. And there are people who hide their genotype, their sickle cell status, because their friends know about the myths and have the misinformation about sickle cell disease. So they don't want to be stigmatized. So they hide the fact that they live with sickle cell disease. But I believe as the awareness increases and all, people's mindsets will start changing about sickle. So we are coming up with some very interesting videos.
Okay,
to raise
all created by
aware.
Crew.
No, this is Crew's and Baby.
Okay.
And we have others which are real humans.
Real
yes.
stories,
Yes,
as in the individuals telling the stories.
Yes, and then we have real humans. I don't want to mention their names, but you know some of them really well.
As in, we know them down in Ghana.
Yes.
And they are living with sickle cell disease.
No. So
okay.
we have this video where a media personality is going to act it, and with an actor, and she's also an actor. And the man has sickle cell disease. He doesn't, they are actors. So, he has sickle cell disease and she's taking care of him when he's ill. They have happy times and some bad times. Like it happens to all of us. And then they have a baby, a child, and it's just a happy family. And a poet is reciting it and saying that because of you, I'm not alone.
Right. Interesting. I like the acting part.
Yeah.
That's my field. But I only ask real quickly, from one creative to another, I know the level of work that goes into creating an animation. It's tough. Yeah. I know you guys go through a lot. So I'm wondering, doing something like this, which is free, really, it's not paid for because you're also contributing to the conversation. How can we help? Not just the average Ghanaian, maybe government, institutions. How can we all help people like you? Animations carry so much power and so much weight. Yeah. We're so glued. You should see all of us watching that movie. How can we help Pure Studios?
I mean, it all boils down to funds, because, for example, for this project, Mary had to stretch to get funds to get it done, because in as much as we are trying to do this for free, there are certain aspects that need to be paid for, like studio time, things, here and there. And like you're saying, it's not free. It's not easy, This project started somewhere in October last year. Yeah. So you can imagine the other clients we've had to put on hold to do this, And so aside just the health sector, I think that to help them, because media is expensive, and you're in the media, so you would know. Media is expensive. And so to help them, you also have to help the media to be able to put out that education,
Sweet. We have a very interesting story here, if I may read through as a viewer just sent it to us, and I'm going to rush through it quickly. So she says, my name is Mrs. Bridget Packins. So for me, I didn't really have a normal childhood. I spent most of my primary school years at the hospital, but luckily for me, my dad had a job that catered for our healthcare, so it wasn't so difficult. And even the thing is that I was mostly in pains. Doctors and nurses at the GPHA clinic really did a great job for us. We have 4 children, and 3 of us have the disease. So I think I'll ask you now, how 4 children, just 3 of them have it. But growing up, mine was much severe. I had sleepless nights, pain in my joints, anemia, loss of appetite, and the likes. I hated the raining season because that is when I get more crisis. When it happens, I can't do anything. It's as if my life has come to a standstill. So when I turned 17, I took my health very seriously. I researched about it more and knew what I needed to do and not do. One folic acid every day has been my savior, aside God though. Today I'm married and a son, and till date I continually take my drugs and it's been good. Having sickle cell and pregnant comes with its own implications, or complications I think she wanted to say. So before we got married, during courting, I had to let my partner know and for us to check our status once more and make an informed decision. He is AA and I'm SC. So during counseling, we were told what we needed to do and it's been good. I'm happily married and my husband has been very supportive all through. Sickle cell is not a death sentence. You can manage it, but be honest about your status and take good care of yourself. Eat well, stay away from very cold temperatures, keep a warm environment, drink more fluids, fruits and vegetables, take your drugs, and try not to skip breakfast, lunch, and supper. You must really pay attention to yourself always and be around people who care and understand you. Thank you very much, Mrs. Bridget Packins, for that
Beautiful.
one. Some questions we got in the
Yeah.
4 kids, three of them have the sickle cell. How's that?
So the thing with sickle cell disease is that it's just like any normal pregnancy. So with a normal pregnancy, if the woman got pregnant naturally without fertility treatment or any assistance, then, you know, during fertility treatment, you can choose a gender of the baby. Though some countries consider it unethical. So if she got pregnant naturally, then it's either it's a boy or a girl. If they are twins, it could be 2 girls or a boy or a girl. So there's always a 50% chance that if it's a singleton pregnancy, then it's either the gender is going to be a boy or a girl, 50% chance.
Okay.
Now, with sickle cell disease too, there's a 25% chance. If I'm AS, I am AS actually. If my partner is also AS, then there's a 25% chance that with every single pregnancy, my baby may be born with sickle cell disease. So that 25% chance, though people say, oh, there's a 75% chance that my child wouldn't have sickle cell disease. So I have faith and we prayed. And I know couples who actually sowed into the life of some missionaries that I knew personally that pray for us so that we wouldn't give birth to a child with sickle cell disease. And yes, though, they ended up giving birth to children with sickle cell disease. Just like the way that some couples have given birth to all boys and all girls. During the story, the mother had 4 children and all 4 children had sickle cell disease. The other side of the story or the coin, like, it also holds where they give birth to 4 children, they are AS, and none of the children have sickle cell disease. Or 1 will have sickle cell disease and 3 wouldn't have sickle cell. Or like the story you read, 3 had sickle cell disease and only 1 didn't have. So it's a risk. It's you can't tell what the child will be born with. Once both of you are carrier couples, you can't tell if the child will have sickle cell disease or not.
Oh, all right, let's go to Doris. Doris, what's the future looking like for you?
Oh, I see it to be very bright. Because now I'm always surrounded by the people who loves me and care for me. So because of that, I knew that my future is bright. So the same thing I would say to my siblings, Shadrach and Jessica, their future is bright. And any sickle cell patient out there, when you surround yourself with the loved ones, people who care about you, are always there for you, your future will always be bright. And with God.
I hope you're not skipping breakfast.
Not at all. Not at all.
I don't joke with that.
What's your favorite food, by the way?
Jollof rice and chicken.
Look at
In
that.
the morning.
I don't
Sis,
care. Midnight
you're not
too.
joking. And a quick one, if you could debunk this with me or affirm this. So I know someone with a sickle cell and he likes Coke so much.
Okay.
Coca-Cola. Is it good? Because he says he always needs sugar.
No, so we advise that they should limit the intake of sugary foods or carbonated drinks and all that because they have very little nutritional value. So there must always be, everyone actually, the diet that people living with sickle cell disease need it's similar to those without sickle cell disease, okay? So they can eat anything, but it should be very healthy.
Okay.
and have lots of nutrients, micro and macronutrients, because sickle cell disease reduces the quantity of nutrients that their body can take in.
Wow.
So because of the nutritional deficiencies that it comes with, sickle cell has lots of complications. There are nutritional deficiencies, there are it affects the immune system as well. So they must always take lots of fruits and vegetables, lots of water, and also when they are eating, they must be very deliberate about what they are taking. If you are taking a drink, rather taking a drink that will give you some micronutrients, macronutrients, and that are going to give you some vitamins and all that. So you must be conscious. And we know that some drinks have very little nutritional value. So try and limit the intake of those drinks. Go in for the fruit juices, the natural ones, if you could make them yourself.
Okay.
And all that.
All right. So we have some questions on our Facebook live stream, and a lot of people are enjoying the conversation. And this one from Kathy Ame says, good afternoon. I think more education needs to go in concerning the checking of your genotype before marriage. And we had this conversation last week right here. And so Millicent Ame is asking that, thank you TV3 for bringing up this wonderful conversation. Aside from the blood infusion, what else can a normal Ghanaian do to help, and what can foundations or NGOs do to support, Doc?
So when it comes to NGOs supporting, I think that collaboration is needed. And I'm very happy that in this campaign, You're Not Alone campaign, we have the NOB Foundation, Sickle Life, Sickle Gene Action, Sky, and other sickle cell nonprofits joining us to raise awareness. And we need corporate Ghana to also come in. And for instance, let me use Tang Palace as an example. They gave us their conference room and event center for free. Tobinco gave sickle cell patients medications for free at the launch. And Creole gave us their skill and everything typically for free, because we didn't pay so much as we were supposed to pay for the beautiful video that you saw. So you may have something like, let me use CV3. Let me use it. You have the airtime. So it will be very great
so that
for
is
you
what
to say.
you think we are doing.
And you're welcome.
Anytime you want to come and talk about
Thank you,
sickle
but you
cell.
should play our video too.
We definitely will. Oh, Dr. Mary Ann, so you don't have a problem at all. Well, another question coming in from Nana Osei Bafo, and he says, good day, please. What does FA mean in a newborn screen?
Yes, so that's the newborn screening test. So if a baby's test result says FA, the F, for every baby born, they have hemoglobin F, that's their fetal hemoglobin. And as they grow older, from 5 months, 6 months going, it starts to change up till age 2. It starts to change to their actual genotype or hemoglobin. So the FA, it's likely that the child's genotype is AS. Or let's say even AC or something. So as a child grows older, the father is going to see what the child's genotype. But for sure, we can say the child doesn't have sickle cell disease because there's an A.
Yeah. Right. Okay. Well, Creole, some shouts coming in for you. This one from Jennifer Barr says, I think Arnold Bannerman, Creole, did an amazing job with the animation. This is a top-notch video produced in Ghana. Kudos to him and the team. So, Creole, do too.
Speaking of which, Creole, I mean, brother to brother, you know boys are stubborn. We can talk about sickle cell and talk about sickle cell. Boys will still want to do what they want to do. So I like you to say it, for someone who's married to a partner who has, how expensive is it living with someone who has sickle cell?
Well, like I said, for my partner, the last time she probably had a crisis was several years ago, even before I met her.
Beautiful.
So she's taking really good care of herself. Although I do know that their bills go up quickly. You know, because once you're admitted to the hospital for a crisis, definitely hospital bills are not cheap and things like that, you know. But for her, she spends more time, effort, money into managing her sickling than relaxing, getting sick, and then going to the hospital, you know. And so, and because we were well informed before we even got married, and so everybody's playing a part where everything needs to be on level ground, because they do not do well with stress, cold, all of that, and so I can't stress here.
So you can travel to other countries, very cold countries, right?
They can.
They can?
Yeah.
So how do you
avoid the
manage?
cold?
Yeah.
They should avoid the cold.
Yeah,
Canada.
So they dress, there are clothing and stuff that they wear, thermal wear, and even there's this technology that comes that it warms you up from within and all.
Should you risk it?
Oh, I mean, they are already
People who
out
live
there.
But sometimes you want to explore.
The small weather here in Ghana.
I mean, so sickle cell disease is global. It's a global public health problem. So it's in the Caribbean, the Mediterranean, Middle East, and they have their weather is different from ours, the USA and all. And they learn to thrive and live with the condition. It's just how you cover yourself, how you drink your water. And the problem with the cold is that because the weather is so cold, you don't get so thirsty.
Right.
But it does not mean that you are not losing water through sweat, through urine and other ways. So you always have to have like reminders on your phone, on your watch, or apps that remind you, take water, do this. And that's the issue with the cold, aside it being cold.
Okay. All right. This one is pretty sad. Amenuvo Richard says, I'm watching you live from Malabo. I'm so emotional. One of my friends passed away through sickle cell disease, and our hearts goes out to you, Richard. This one from Gifty Afiyo Tete says, thanks for the education. Good afternoon. Good afternoon to you too. Richard Adeo says, I'm Richard from Sunyani. I'm really enjoying your conversation on sickle cell. Big ups to Dr. Ansong and the team. I just want her to address issues of genetic variation and polymorphism among people with the disease. Does it affect disease manifestation among patients? How do we then approach medications and management in light of these genetic issues among people with SCD as a country? Sounds like an exam question.
Yeah, I mean, there definitely, I think Arnold mentioned it. There are definitely genetic variations as well as environmental variations with sickle cell disease. And more research is needed, to be honest, to tackle these issues. As of now, to the best of my knowledge, I don't know any specific treatment that's going to help people with a specific type of genetic variation who have sickle cell disease. So we know of the hydroxyurea, we know of oxybrita, we know of different types of medications for people living with sickle cell disease. But then the main thing is hydroxyurea, which is accessible right now and sometimes not accessible in Ghana and other parts of sub-Saharan Africa. And then we also know of the gene editing, and which is highly inaccessible, not even just here, but even in the developed world as well. So these are the treatment that's currently available. It doesn't really mind if you have the very severe form or less severe. If you need hydroxyurea, you will be prescribed. It will be given to you regardless of any genetic variation.
We always hear when you're going to get married and you get, tested for sickle cell and all that. Should we wait till we're getting married?
No.
Or are hospitals open to test people for sickle cell? Is it expensive to test?
Yes, the average, it depends on your pocket.
But the average is?
The average is like about 100 to 150 cedis
Okay.
if you're having HB electrophoresis done for you. And it can be sometimes slightly lower depending on the laboratory that you go to.
Okay.
But that being said, especially those who have a hemoglobin genotype, the advice is that after you've done the HB electrophoresis, please go in for HPLC to confirm your genotype, because the problem with HB electrophoresis is that we have two types. We have the qualitative and quantitative.
Okay.
So the qualitative just says you are AS. Like the video, it was the qualitative. It doesn't give the percentages. We all have different types of hemoglobins in our body aside the main ones, okay? So if you have a type of abnormal hemoglobin called beta thalassemia, the qualitative is not going to pick it up. But if you do the quantitative, that shows the percentages of the different types of hemoglobins in your blood, then it will say that, we recommend that you do HPLC to find out if you really have the beta thalassemia trait, because the HB electrophoresis wouldn't pick it up. When you do HPLC and you have the beta thalassemia trait, it means that you thought you were AA, but you were actually A beta thal. So knowing that, you know that if you marry someone who is AS, you can still give birth to a child with sickle cell disease. And the beta thalassemia trait is very common in the Caribbean, especially Jamaica and all, whilst the AS and the AC is more common, but some Ghanaians have it and it's caused lots of havoc in marriages and families.
Doctor, you have a lot to say about
A
it. But thank you so
lot,
much for
a
your
lot.
time. We appreciate you. Briefly, in 1 minute, if you can, Crew, your last words. Doris, your last words as well, starting with Crew.
Okay, so first of all, to touch on ISCC's campaign, I think that we've said it all, a lot of education needs to be done, which is what we are doing now. And also, for us personally, Crew has been quiet for some time now, and this is more or less our way back into it. We've been working in the background, but now we're here.
Back.
Yeah.
Nice one. Love it.
Doris.
Okay, so I'm here to plead for the government and the companies, any other organization, because Dr. Mary can't do it all by herself. But when we come together, we can conquer the disease.
Yeah.
So I really want the government, I'm pleading, and any organization should join us to campaign and to make noise about sickle cell disease so that we can get rid of this disease.
When you become a lawyer, I want free service, okay? Free service.
But Dr. Mary, quickly, how do people contact you? Because I can see a lot of messages asking, how do they get in touch with you?
Okay, so the number is 0599 599 211.
Okay.
So 0599 599 211 or admin@isccghana.org.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. And for all your questions, a lot of questions are coming under our live stream on Facebook. Unfortunately, we cannot take all of them, but you can contact Dr. Mary Anson or the ISCC team and then share your concerns with them. And I know they'll definitely be of great help to you. It's been a good conversation.
It has been. And quickly, Crew.